Yes, we are live now.
All right.
So I will just make the introduction in Arabic to let the people who's coming in knows what's going on.
Okay.
Uh, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا بكم في حلقة جديدة من أيكوكا لايف. النهاردة معانا ضيفتنا الممثلة الأمريكية ليندا يانج، المشهورة بصوت فريزا وصوت جينكاي من يو هاكوشو. So basically, I'm gonna say again what I said in Arabic. I will say it in English.
All right.
Yeah, today we welcome actress Linda Young with us as our guest, who is famous for playing such famous character like Frieza from the DBZ and Genkai from Yu Yu Hakusho. So we like to welcome you in
Thank-
Anime Ikuka Egypt life.
Yes. Welcome to you and thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So I will try to go directly to this question so we don't take any much time because like I know that we took some time in the preparation, so it wouldn't take longer time with you hopefully. This sort of the first question is sort of a standard question because normally you ask the actors like how do they start their career and what led them to this kind of career, for example in dubbing, for example.
Okay. Well, ever since I was a kid, I always liked acting and singing and writing. So I started writing neighborhood shows when I was a little kid. And then when I got into high school, I was in the plays and the musicals and the choir. And so when I went to college and I studied theater arts and communications, and then kept acting in plays. Later, I got into radio and advertising and got a regular agent and did all sorts of acting work.
Yeah, like
And
this is sort of like what's interesting because sometimes we hear different stories. Like for example, a lot of our guests from like Arabic background, they start with the theater. Basically, they were like
yeah,
acting in
yes,
the theater, plays, and so on. And like sometimes, for example, we see like actors who started with ads, doing ads or like publicity, for example.
yes.
So it is actually quite interesting to know, but like how this kind of background led you to voice acting. Like how do you go from like theater or like ads to voice acting?
I think being in radio a lot helped because I actually wrote the copy and I voiced a lot of the commercials, and some of them were like almost little skits, where I got to play different characters. And I also did a children's show and played different characters. So I had done a lot before I got the audition for Dragon Ball Z. And that audition I almost didn't even go to. One of my friends talked me into going. It was actually an open audition.
Oh, so
Yes.
your first gig in voice acting with Dragon Ball Z directly?
Yeah, my first anime gig, yes. My,
That's actually quite interesting because like because of course now we cannot say it in because like we are now in the future, so we cannot say it now, but like this is one of the biggest shows. Like it's not an
I,
obscure show, for example, so like to get your start in such a big show is it's quite a big thing actually.
yes, and none of us knew it then. In fact, when I went to this audition, I really didn't know exactly what I was auditioning for. Um, it was I knew animated and cartoons, but I had never really heard of anime. And there was some information to read, so I read some of that information, but I still didn't really get it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got the part of Frieza, I had no idea what that was going to be like. I had no idea really what Frieza all was and what was going to happen. So that was really interesting and it was fun. Um,
Speaking
and
of Frieza, like that's one of the most like known characters from Dragon Ball Z, and especially he is like sort of the main antagonist for the series. And until today, actually, like I don't know whether you are following up what's going on currently with the Dragon Ball series, but currently in Dragon Ball Super, he also came back as a character. So it is still sort of the most recognizable recurring character in Dragon Ball as a villains, of course.
Yes,
So,
yes.
but what led you to this kind of voice? Like, I mean, what inspired you to give it this specific voice?
Actually, there was a dub from Canada called the Ocean dub,
Oh yeah.
and um, they wanted to make the transition um, where people might not realize there's new actors. So we had to imitate the voices of the Ocean dub actors. And so I was actually imitating her voice, the lady that did Frieza, and she had that, that crackle in her voice and all of that. And I could put that crackle in my voice. So I think I was one of the only people that could put that crackle in my voice without coughing.
Yeah,
So,
that's also one of the things, because for like Frieza voice is really like sort of a rough voice. It's not like a
yeah,
smooth. It is one of these voices that like you have to keep it like a specific tone, otherwise you will keep like.
I have to place it in my throat. And I am a singer also. So I know how to place my voice in different places. So that helps a lot. And I also liked to imitate voices when I was a kid. And there was this evil voice. I think he was on this show called Captain Kangaroo. It was a cartoon, but he was called Krabby Appleton. He was called Krabby Appleton. And he kind of talked like that too. And even when I was a kid, I used to imitate him. So that might have helped a little. And then as time went on, I could put my own kind of spin on it a little, and I could put my own humor into it. But
Yeah,
at
because
first,
like Frieza as a character, it was a bit like it was it was almost like sort of like the Dragon Ball like villains are a really cartoonish kind of villain. Like they are
yeah,
really cartoonish. Like it's not like they are not deep. They are not like they don't have a high motive. Like he just want to conquer the world. He just wanted to be the emperor of the galaxy. Blah blah blah.
yeah, with
And
Frieza, it's just all about Frieza. I
yeah,
mean,
exactly. Like
he
it
thought
was
Frieza was
selfish.
the best. There's
Like
no
he
one
was
else.
a selfish character. He was like
Spoiled brat.
spoiled brat, exactly. Yeah, that's why there is almost this kind of sarcastic tone
Yeah,
in his voice, like because like he doesn't take anything other than him seriously.
that's right. Doesn't believe anyone but himself. Doesn't, no, yeah.
Yeah. So
He,
one of the other like things about like the because like the English dub, for example, or to be more specific, the American dub introduced something concept that we mimicked a little bit in the Arabic dub, which is localization. So like
mhm.
what do you think of this concept, for example? I know now they don't do it, but like it was very big back then at the beginning.
And what was that you said
I
they
mean,
didn't?
what are your thoughts on localization as a practice by dubbing companies or in dubbing, for example?
Um,
You know
the
the
dub
concept. Are you
to the,
familiar with the concept localization when they use, for example, like for example, when you have like a show that's set in Japan, but like you say no, it's set in USA, and then you start changing names of the character, for example, that's hard to pronounce
oh,
to English, and some it's till then it's fine when you change the name of the character, but some go even deeper to change sort of like for example, if they are drinking green tea, they will say no, it's black tea. If they eat like rice balls, they say like no, it's such a sandwich. You know, this kind of things.
oh, oh.
Yeah, this is sort of like that's one was one of the main criticism that's for the earlier dubs, because like
Yeah,
they sort of like Of course, it is not fair also to say it now because, as I said, like we have we have the foresights. We know what happened. We know what came up. But back
Mm-hmm.
then, we didn't know. So like for a lot of people, it could make sense. Like for example, for us in Arabic dubbing, sometimes they change the name of the cities because, for example, if the city set in Kyoto, a lot of people at that age or at that time they didn't know what is Kyoto, so they thought it is like uh, it's quite very foreign name for them. So for them, they
Oh,
said something instead of like the capital city. We go to the old city. We go to the capital city. But
oh, okay.
yeah, but the criticism was for the people who changed the words like the rice balls, for example, which is like a tradition or like
Yes,
a very popular food in Japan.
yes,
They
yes.
change it to sandwich, and they
Oh,
start like going on changing some aspects of the Japanese culture to be more
oh,
Western. That's why it is yeah, it is sort of
no,
like it's sort of a controversy. Yeah,
I
but
don't know. It kind of takes away something from it, I think.
that's actually what is the main this is the main criticism actually because like a lot of people say you sort of when you change the name of the thing you sort of lose its significant, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
anyway, since like I because like it's sort of a very famous controversy, so I thought you might have a known about it, but it's okay, no problem. Uh,
I don't watch anime and stuff.
yeah,
No, I'm not. Some people really do, but
yeah.
I'll watch things on YouTube sometimes, and like I'll watch like bits and pieces of
Mm.
things, but I'm not like someone that sits down and watches so much and knows so much. The fans know so much. They always know more than me. I go, I think you need to answer that question, not
Like
me.
they don't do it anymore. Like it's sort of like it was a practice in the early 90s and the early 2000s, but now they don't do it. That's why like it becomes sort of like people who are because some people say, oh, don't watch the old dubs because it has blah 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 blah, and people say no, but it is like you should watch it in its context. Like it was if
Yeah,
it was done in the 90s, watch it as if it is was in the 90s. Don't watch it with your current perspective. That's why I
yeah.
say we have sort of we have the foresights now, so we know what's going to happen. But back then, it was not known. But anyway, like normally when you go to an audition, what do you prepare, or how do you prepare yourself to go to an audition?
Well, it depends what type of audition it is. A lot of times at Funimation, you never saw the copy till you were right there. So you just kind of had to prepare right there and just get an idea in your head what the character would be like, what kind of voice you wanted to use, what the emotions would be. Just like if I was reading a play,
Mm.
the same thing.
Yeah, like that's one of the things. That's why I think a lot of actors start with plays because it gives you sort of a space for sort of like improvisation. It help you a
It,
little bit to like I don't mean improvisation, but I mean like
it
it get you in the mood. It get you in the mood
you,
of
it, you learn to look into a character and
yes.
become a character. Um, that's why acting experience is so important because you are actually acting and voice acting. You're actually becoming that character. And with me, I really truly picture myself as the character.
Mm,
I picture myself looking like the character. I picture my emotions would be exactly theirs. It's the easiest way for me to just really picture myself as Frieza or as Genkai. It works. That's what works for me. But I know all my acting
mm.
experiences is what really helped me.
But after you do the audition and you get accepted, for example, do they show you the Japanese counterpart, for example, or do they ask you to mimic or go the same voice?
No, but they do. Um, when you go in the booth and you're going to do a part, um, it's, you kind of go from from lines to lines, and you have to come in after there's like these beeps, like beep, 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 and then you come in because you're going to be dubbing. You're going to be, and they will show you the Japanese version of the portion you're going to do first, just so you can get an idea of what's going on in the scene. But usually they don't ask you to sound like the Japanese version. Sometimes maybe. Sometimes if they really that sound of the voice or the pitch of the voice, you know, they'll say, you know, kind of do it in that lower pitch or do it in that higher crazy pitch. But
because
no, they don't.
I was discussing with you before we go, like a character like Genkai, like the
Yes.
English, your voice is way much different from the Japanese voice. So I think like you went with your own interpretation of the character. Like I don't think you try to mimic the Japanese character.
And I don't even remember hearing that voice at that time. I don't think we even, when we were at the smaller studio, I don't think we even heard the Japanese voice. But the director directed me as how he wanted it. He wanted her kind of a wisecracker and had kind of a little hoarseness in her voice and kind of tough but loving at the same time. You know, where she was tough love. And,
yeah, exactly, because she was sort of, as we said, like a parental figure to Josuke and the crew, and also like she was their mentor. So she was not just like a mentor and teacher. So she had to be this character. Speaking of parental guidance, like your son was also acting in the dub with you in Yu Yu Hakusho. So
yes.
Can you talk with us about this experience? Like, how did it? Because like both of you were main characters. How did this go?
Well, first of all, when I was first working at Funimation, they were looking for more like engineers, people to work the computers and stuff to assist a director. And I said, I think my son would be good at that. He had just been graduating, and he went to North Texas, where a lot of the people that work at Funimation went. And Chris Sabat ended up knowing him. He goes, sure, have him come in. So he ended up getting a job there. And then he ended up being head writer. And also they would pull him in the booth every once in a while to do voices, and then realized he was pretty good at it. So he did Tien in Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
And then he got the part of Kurama for Yu Yu. So it was just really neat to be working on that with him and with Justin and with Chris and Chuck. And they always called me mom anyhow, because, you know, I was John's mom. So
because it makes sense when you are like the mentor and the parental guide, and you are literally mentoring your son, and also the parent literally for him.
And so they were all calling me mom, and I was kind of that way because I was like probably the oldest one there, and I would always bring cookies, and you know.
That's also one of the things, like we asked Chuck the same question, but I'm gonna repeat it again. Like if you take that much time with this kind of group of actors, it becomes sort of like a family. Like as you see, you bring them cookies, blah blah blah. Like I think it. I don't know how long you acted Dragon Ball, but I think it's almost more than 20 years, maybe. I think I read like something like you did something in 2004 maybe. I mean,
let's see, I was Frieza for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And
because I think it is the same crew that did DBZ, the one that continued to GT, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, so like it is.
We were in the smaller studio then, so you were more like family.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd have parties, and everyone would get to know each other. Now that the studios are so big, you don't even know every director. You just don't know a lot of people. But you know, when you meet the people at the cons, you end up meeting
Yeah.
the and getting to know them more, which is
That
really nice.
was one of the concepts that I liked about the early dubs. Even in the Arabic region, the early dubs would like you have to be in the studio together with the other actors, like to sort of like bounce on each other and like record together. So sometimes, but now on like you go do your part and then you leave. You don't have to meet the other actors. You don't have to be with them when they are recording, for example. And like
Right.
that sort of
When
like
we started out, we never were with the other actors
mm,
either. We just go in by ourselves, but we saw them there because it was such a small
yeah.
place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we never got to go in all together unless it was called unless it was where there was a crowd scene
Mm.
or something. You had to go all squish into a booth and make, crowd
A
noises.
crowd noise.
But no, we
Sometimes.
never got to um, work with another person and feed off
Mm,
of them like that.
yeah,
That's the hard. That's kind of the hard part about anime to some people is you you're in there by yourself and you have to create your own emotion and everything. You can't like in a play you don't see the other person and see what their emotion is and
yeah. Because
so
it sometimes it is sort of fun when there is like bouncing between each
yes,
other. Like you see the other person's reaction, you see how they feel, you see like it creates more of like an intimacy in the scene.
it does.
Yeah,
It does. But you have to in voice acting you have to imagine all that happening. You just when you see the things going on screen, you just imagine it. Now, sometimes if someone recorded before you, their voice might be in there.
mm.
So at least you will hear the voice.
But
And
at
that
least
would,
when you have this kind of close relation, like you are like friends, you have know each other, at least you know who is doing the other character, so you can imagine in your head how they will do it. So it sort of helps as well.
yes, that's a good point. Yes.
Uh, Another question about like because like some of the Egyptians, for example, they prefer to watch the English dub to the Arabic dub, for example. So what do you think? What made the English dub, even for non-English speaking country, is so beloved? Because what goes into like there is a performance, for example, there is actors, there is writers. What do you think is the main reason that people till today watches in English, even though like there is Arabic version, for example, or Japanese version?
I know. I really am not sure why it became so popular. It seemed like it was kind of unique for
Mm,
some reason. Just everyone was excited. The actors were excited to voice these parts, even though we weren't sure exactly what this was. And the directors were so good, and they knew exactly what it was and what they wanted. And the writers were good, and the writers wrote. I think they wrote some good scripts. I think they wrote some comedy into
yeah,
it, which was really good, but yet seriousness and I don't know. It just all worked. It
yeah.
just
Because for
seemed.
example, for me, like I am, for me, it's a little bit debatable, but like for me, like the Japanese humor does not translate well for me. Like I don't get it. Like when there is a joke, I don't get it. Meanwhile, for example, a big part of Yu Yu Hakusho is like the character of Josuke, that he is like a lovable idiot, for example. Sometimes, like
Yeah.
it's part of his joke, his performance, like the kind of comedy he performed is. When I watch it in Japanese, I don't get it sometimes, but in the English dub, it is so easy to transfer for me. Maybe because I'm familiar with American, like kind of humor, so maybe
Probably.
it's easier to translate for me.
Yeah.
But that could
Probably.
be also one of the like the reasons, because for example I was watching recently, like there is a new Japanese show, I mean anime show on Netflix that's like it's a comedy. I couldn't
Mhm.
watch the Japanese parts because like
Oh.
the jokes does not like for them, their humor is based on the voice and
Yes.
sort of like the body humor more than like a smart humor, like puns or maybe like jokes or something like that. So for example, for me, when I watch like some Japanese comedy, I don't get it. I don't laugh. Meanwhile, when
Yeah.
I watch the same dub of the same series, I find it hilarious.
Wow.
That was sort of interesting
That
aspect
is.
I noticed, yeah.
Yeah.
Because maybe
Wonder-
because as I told you, like we are familiar sort of everywhere. We are familiar with sort of like the American banter, as they say, like all the kind of puns or English humor generally, like
Hey.
yeah, even for the UK and so on. But that also take me to another question because also related to you Hakusho also like
Uh-huh.
one of the funny things I saw like because in for example for Arabic dub we have, I don't know whether you are familiar with Arabic language, but we have like a standard and then every country have its own dialect. But when we dub, we do a standard dub, so it is with the
Oh,
standard Arabic, so everyone will understand it. It is sort of the difference between like different dialects in specific states in United States, and the
yeah.
difference between the English in the US and English in UK, for example.
Yeah.
But when we dub with the standard. But for
Mm-hmm.
example, in Yu Yu Hakusho, I didn't see any accent, but suddenly there was an Irish character. Like there was an like I forgot what was his name. I think it was Jenny or something like that. Jin, like the one with the red hair. He spoke with
Yes.
Irish accent, and there was another character that spoke with Australian accent.
Uh-huh.
So the question is, I give a big introduction to only one question. Do you prefer dubbing in a standard language in the same kind of dialect, or do you prefer when it has like different dialects?
Boy. I don't know. I mean,
Like for me, it makes sense
most time.
in some shows. For example, I don't know whether you are familiar with Hitalia. Like there is an anime show Hitalia, and also your son is also one of the head writers in this show.
Uh-huh.
So this show is based on, or the humor of this show, it's a comedy series. It's based on the stereotypes of countries. Like it's sort of like countries personified as persons. So for example,
Uh-huh.
like there is United States as a character, France as a character, and the jokes feed on the stereotypes. But part of the humor for me is every character speak with it's a little bit controversial, but like every character speak with the accents that's supposed to come from this country. So it made it funnier, sort of, when someone is the French speak with a French accent, Italian speak with Italian accent, American speak with Texas accent. I don't know why, but
Okay. So it's kind of like
yeah.
putting everyone in
Meanwhile, for
that
example,
category
yeah. But
with the act.
meanwhile, when I watch it in Japanese, they all speak Japanese. So like I don't even like part of the humor that's like uh, promising humor of the series was lost just because everyone speaks the same dialect. So I don't even get.
Which show was that? Which show was that?
It
What
is
was
called Hitalia.
it's called what?
Hitalia. Hitalia.
Huh.
Yeah, it is like it's called Hitalia Axis or something like that.
Sounds funny.
Yeah, like there was Chuck Hooper was in it,
Uh-huh.
and like it is the same from the same crew, actually the same crew that do the dub of Yu Yu Hakusho. That's why I thought you might be familiar with the show,
No,
because it
I'm not.
was I watched it only in English because I couldn't watch it in Japanese because of the
Oh,
same thing,
oh.
like the same kind of also problem with the humor problem.
Yes, yes.
So like like the dub anime community is rather famous in America. So why do you think it becomes so famous? Like it's almost a mainstream now.
The what? The Dragon Ball Z or the
Like
and
the dub generally, or like maybe like specifically, like for example, like the very famous meme. It's over 9,000. From
mhm,
the DBZ. There
mhm.
was it get into opera and it becomes sort of a mainstream meme, which is come from the DBZ dub. So like Okay, let me rephrase it a little bit. I am sorry. Sometimes I try to give a background for this question. It could be a little bit uh, disengaging. Like the dub, it becomes sort of like it has its own kind of community now. Like it's not just
Y-
an anime community. So
Yes.
what do you think the reason that make it so like mainstream, almost mainstream now?
I don't know. The only thing I can think of, like I said, is it was, well, first of all, when Dragon Ball Z came around, apparently it was so unique and different that everyone wanted to watch it. Um, Kids ran home from school to watch it. Um, it just caught on where they thought this is something different, this is something new. And of course, I think having the bad guy and the good guy always winning
Mm.
was good. And but I don't know how it became so popular. And then all the other anime started coming in.
Mm.
It kicked it off. Even though there was some anime before Dragon Ball Z, it
Yeah, like
probably was.
when you mentioned the ocean dub, I remember like I heard about it. So it's been like in the
Yeah,
80s even like even in the 80s there
yeah.
was yeah.
But it wasn't really noticed like it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
now
Like
after
that's
that.
that's 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 the sort of like the missing part for me or the missing link for me because suddenly like there was a dub which no
Yeah.
one recognized, no one heard of, and
And
suddenly came a dub. So suddenly everyone is fan. Then suddenly
I
it
know.
becomes sort of a normal thing to be fan of the dub. Like
Right, right. But it was like a unique thing at first. It was like unique. And then it I couldn't believe how many people were fans, and I had no idea. Now I call them Fanameli, like
yeah, like a family.
Animeli. The
Yeah.
Fanameli.
So like you voice a lot of characters. Of course, I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask it like anyway. What is your favorite character and the most difficult one at the same time?
My favorite. You know, I think my I liked, of course, Frieza and Genkai, but I think my favorite is Genkai
Mm.
because Genkai is probably a little more like I am,
Yeah, like
and
of course you don't want to conquer the world.
just I just enjoyed her sense of humor, but I really enjoyed Frieza's sense of humor too. I got to tell you, and Frieza was great for if you were feeling angry or something,
Yeah,
and you go in and you go do Frieza, you come out and it's like, oh, I feel good now. I'm not upset anymore.
yeah,
So Frieza was probably more difficult,
mm.
definitely, because I had to do all that yelling and shouting, and I had to kind of learn how to do
Yeah,
some of that because I don't usually go around shouting and yelling.
yeah, yeah.
But it was kind of fun to learn that and fun to learn, even have to do sounds when you land and
Mm.
sounds when you go up and just sounds for everything and sounds when you fighting noises, all of that.
Do you
That,
have some Frieza in you? We can hear a little bit.
oh yeah, I probably have some freezing. What do you want to hear? What, have a favorite line or anything?
Anything you like. Normal. You can answer the question as Frieza if you like, for example.
Oh, what is your question?
Like was Frieza difficult to act?
Oh, oh, it shouldn't be difficult to act. I'm never difficult. I'm perfect. So what's the problem?
The perfect Frieza. It's not even my final form. Yeah.
Uh,
B- since your voice is very recognizable, did anyone recognize you outside of your work? Like, for example, maybe in grocery or like you would do shopping or something like that and suddenly recognize your voice?
you know what? No, but it was the strangest thing that a lot of times kids would just come up to me and start talking about Dragon Ball Z for some reason. You know, little boys that I didn't even know. And then I tell them, well, I played Frieza, and they're like, no.
Yeah, like it's because it's quite funny. Like they didn't know your voice and they didn't know how you look, but suddenly they decide to speak to the right person
Right,
at the right time.
right. And then when I would say something in that voice, they were like, ooh. In fact, the other day we were in the post office because we were sending out some signings that I did.
Mm.
And there was a guy probably in his 20s or 30s, probably 20s. And he came up to us when we were leaving and said, were you talking about anime? Like, do you do something in anime? I heard you talking. And my husband, of course, he's always the one, oh, well, this is Frieza and this is Genkai. And he's like, what? So I started talking in the voice a little. And he was like, and if I laughed, like, he was like, ooh.
He get the shiver. Yeah.
And he said, that's my childhood, and you make me feel like a kid. And then we're like, you're too young. Wait. He goes, well, those are still, I still watched the old dubs. So,
Yeah, like that is the same with me. Like I'm like in 2020, like not even a year ago, I was watching Yu Yu Hakusho for the first time in the original
yeah,
dub. Like it's not
yeah,
redubbing or anything. So I was experiencing it like something that people experienced 20 years ago, but like I'm reliving the same experience without losing the feelings. For example, like I don't have
yes,
to be a kid to feel the same thing I'm feeling now. For example.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and really, like, I'm not saying this because you are our guest, but really, in the dub of Yu Yu Hakusho, you can feel like a specific, special feeling. Like, it's one of the best dub I think it was done, in generally. Like, maybe I know a lot of people will say Dragon Ball because a lot of people like really love Dragon Ball, and like
yes,
even some people in the comment they say like Dragon Ball is the OG, like it is the OG show. So like everyone loves Dragon Ball, but for me, like
yeah,
I would say like Yu Yu Hakusho is what probably is one of the best dubs that was done.
yeah. I think it's kind of funny, but my dad, he actually even liked Yu Yu Hakusho.
Mm.
Because my dad was like a feeling kind of person,
Yeah,
emotional. And he liked it because he could feel with the characters and he liked the story and he liked what was going on. He thought it was exciting and he really enjoyed that too, which I thought was kind of neat, you
yeah.
know?
Like
Um,
that's what was I really felt like there was some genuine feelings in the Yu Yu Hakusho dub. And
oh, yeah.
even the show itself like had a lot of
Yeah.
feeling in it. But that's one of
Yeah.
the things that I like because like generally speaking, sometimes some feeling get loose in the translation. For example, like some
Mhm.
specific feeling because it depends also on the actor, it depends on the voice they making, it depends on the way they are like dubbing. For example, sometime.
Right.
But for this one, you can feel it's genuine. Like if you feel like you are watching in the source. Like I don't feel that I'm missing something that I'm watching the dub, not the Japanese one, for example.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not, that's a good thing. Maybe that's why it's making such a comeback.
Yeah, like actually, like I seen a lot of people like of course before because I don't know whether you know it or not. Like Hunter x Hunter is one of the most famous anime shows that was written by the same writer of Yu Yu Hakusho. So it is
Oh,
one of the most like top 10 animes of all time is Hunter x
wow.
Hunter. So I
Wow.
like, and it has a huge fan base, like Hunter
Mhm.
x Hunter, of course. And when I went to Yu Yu Hakusho, I said, okay, if it's from the same writer, it sure have the same kind of pace, and indeed it was. Like it had
Wow.
the same, like it has a very big fan base. But what's
Yeah.
interesting that most of the fan base heard about the dub of Yu Yu Hakusho. Like that's how it get known. For it's not like sometimes you don't even know whether an anime or a show has a dub or not. You don't know, but
Yeah.
This is how famous the dub of Yu Yu Hakusho was.
Mm-hmm.
That like it
Yeah.
almost got to everyone.
Wow. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. For you also played I mean not played I mean acted in video games. Does if
Yeah.
there is like playing a
The
video
video.
game character or like a dub character, if there is a difference?
Um, in the video game, it's a little more, I don't want to say mechanical, but maybe that's the word,
Mm.
where you just have to make certain sounds and say certain lines, but in a certain amount of time. And well, it's always a certain amount of time, but in a certain kind of
But it is the same setting, like the same setting for recording the anime or like the dub, right?
right. It when you record the well, when we did all the DBZ games, actually, I would hear the Mr. Nakayo first, the Japanese version, and it was mostly so you could get the timing down,
Yeah.
but you kind of end up doing it a little like them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You hear that,
Yeah,
and then
because
you
it's a little bit different. Like for example, for as far as I understand, for dub, you can do sort of like voice editing or voice mixing
yeah,
that can you
yes,
can synchronize 100%. But with video game, it's a little bit harder because like
yeah.
because it
It's harder to get across that you're the character. But as far as going in and doing the game, it's easier because it doesn't
yeah,
take very long. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's kind of harder and easier. But let's see. Oh, I still play Baba in Dragon Ball Z
yeah, yeah.
Super, and she's kind of a funny character. And I got to play Poorly Yusuka in Fairy Tale, which was nice.
Yeah, like I know also Fairy Tail is also one of the shows. Like when I was when we designed a poster for the interview for the stream, and I was telling the guy who's designing like, oh, you should put this character, these specific characters. I was choosing my favorite characters, and he was like, oh, there is a very important character in Fairy Tail, and I was like, I don't watch Fairy Tales, I don't know, like because I didn't watch, and he was like, I will just put it, people will know it, like, and he did put it at the end of the poster, but like yeah, Fairy Tales is a huge show also. Like it is very famous and
Yeah,
especially till today because it's still relevant. Like it's not an old show, for example, like Dragon
right.
Ball Z, for example, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
but also you did. I don't know. I have no idea. But like you also did a recent character in Fruit Basket, like Fruit Basket. Like that's. I think
No,
that was 2020.
I have one. I mean, I did one on the old dub, but I haven't done anything yet. Now my son does a big character in that
Oh
show.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
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 because I don't watch Fruit Basket, but I know there is two dubs. Like I mean, like two
yeah,
versions of it because like there
yeah.
is the old one and there is the new one,
Two
and like
versions.
currently it is sort of a trending in our community because the new one is trending in our community because it is like it's still airing. I think that's why
Yes,
it was quite interesting. Like how do like people like. Because like this is one of the things that like I'm quite curious because I don't know whether you are familiar with like there is people against redubbing old shows because like for example some people say, oh, this is an old show, let's make a new dub that's suitable for this new age, for example, and people are against this, but at the same time when there is a show they do 100% remake, people are quite like, should we bring back the same cast that they did the original show, or should we start with a new one?
yes, yeah.
Yeah, because like I know people like, for example, like they like to get like, uh, like they like to get the original experience, like the old times, but at the same
Right.
time, it's quite hard to bring the same people to do it again. Because, for example, like if an actor did like a kid voice, you cannot bring them 20 years back to do the same kid voice. Like sometimes it doesn't translate well sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I just can't believe there's so much anime now.
It is so much. It is so much. Like sometimes I cannot even go along with it. Like for example, every season there is a lot, like really a lot. And like for example, like the 2020 season was one of the most exciting season ever. Like the winter 2021, I guess, not even 22, 2020. I mean 21. This last season, it was huge. Like it has like the biggest show in the last 10 years. That's why
Wow.
like it is even for anime fans like me, it's hard to keep up
Oh
because
yes.
like in
Oh,
one season there is like 5 or 6 shows that are really great, like not just
oh
good.
my.
So
Oh,
even the quality of of the show is even like hype up now, like it's even higher
oh,
now.
wow. Yeah. Imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Uh,
haven't been in the studio in so long since the pandemic. You know.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually one of the things that we start our sort of live stream is the pandemic because like people like were locked in the house. They didn't know what to do, and they want something to sort of an entertainment you can get at home because like you cannot hold cones, you cannot do anything. Like it's quite harder now.
Yes. It's a different world, is what it is.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is even like. I knew that some actors, for example, I don't know whether it's the same for you or not, but like they had to do their rules from home. They had to record at home and then they send it to the director. So it was even like a little bit harder for some
I
of them.
oh, yeah, I never got my husband was going to help me set up some equipment. We have the equipment, but he never helped me, and I can't really figure it out on my own. So I've missed out on a lot of auditions and stuff that way. But I don't know. Sometimes I end up figuring out things on my own, but I don't think I can figure out that. I figured out the video auditions. I can do
Mm.
those, but I haven't figured out how to do that audio because you have to have it studio quality.
Yeah, home studio. Like I know a lot of actors do the home studio thing.
Oh, they do. They've got it down. Like I can do. I was always set up to do auditions that
Mm.
weren't. They didn't have to be studio quality.
Yeah,
But now, since it has to be studio quality, I just don't know how to do that yet. You know, and I mean, I've never been a technical person, but
mm.
I'm more technical than I used to be. Like, look, I figured out how to get on
Yeah.
here without my.
Yeah, like you are now doing a live stream, so like how more technical you can get.
But anyhow, so I don't know. I hope I'll get to go to the studio again one day. But maybe I'll just figure out how to do my equipment too. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
hopefully. You
I should be
also,
like
mm,
Frieza. I can do it.
yeah, like do you sometimes like like do the Frieza voice in looking at the mirror or something? That would be
Well,
like fun.
I I do these things called cameos.
Mm,
There were people purchase. It's a site, and
mm,
like they'll have me do Happy Birthday in Frieza voice, or like today I was asked to do a pep talk as Genkai. So they're kind of fun. So I
yeah,
keep getting to do the voices from these cameos that people order. So that's been kind of fun.
yeah.
It,
This is
it
actually really something really funny. Like I would imagine that someone, for example, will order like a roasting for the birthday with a Frieza voice. That will be really
yes,
really
someone did
funny.
want to be roast someone, and I've already had a wedding reception
Mm,
where someone wanted the their husband to get this hello and congratulations from Frieza and all different things, but it's really a lot of fun.
yeah. You also said you sings also. Like, do you have like original songs or you perform like some other songs?
I have written a couple. I've written a couple original songs from a film for a film, but I sing with a big band. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
what it is, but um, we do songs from like the 40s to the 70s or something. So
Mm,
it's um, it's truly a big band. I mean, there's like 20 instruments or so, and I sing, and then I also sing with a smaller group, a couple smaller groups, but anything from jazz to 1940s, 1950s, all different things, you know. But the big band is really cool.
So what is
Singing,
your favorite song then?
what's my favorite song?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I have so many of them. But you know what? People love the song Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy. I don't know if you've ever, it's a boogie woogie. It's
It sounds funny.
it's like they like that, and they like well, they like some of the old love songs. There's a song called Old Black Magic that people like. I don't know, there's so many, but anyway, songs kind of from the old like 1940s and stuff are beautiful. The lyrics are beautiful. They use all these different rhythms and all these different, I don't know, it's this really nice music, which we actually, our big band played for a Cowboy Bebop party, which is another.
I was gonna ask about something like that. Like, did you ever like? Yeah.
Because in Cowboy Bebop, they kind of got that jazz going. They got some big band, and so they were all younger people, but they were dancing like crazy to this swing and music.
Because that's actually one of the things that about like big, I mean, Cowboy Bebop is the music. Like, yeah, like there is a video essays only about the music of Cowboy Bebop. They are not even talking about the show.
No, like, just the music.
Yeah.
But they were really enjoying the dancing, and for a lot of songs were like brand new to these young people, and they loved the songs. They loved it. So that was really fun, and the band loved it. It was really a nice experience. Of course, they kept calling me Frieza, and I kept having to talk like Frieza.
That would be funny also to do a song in a Frieza voice.
Oh.
But that would be, I think, really, really hard.
One of my friends she does a lot of my artwork she's really good at it. Well, she is actually writing something. She's also writes, she's like, does these comics, but she had me do a Frieza song. Yes. It's going to be funny when she gets it done, but it was hard to sing like Frieza. Oh my goodness. Frieza doesn't have a good range.
Yeah.
I mean,
I cannot imagine how yeah.
We got it done though. So, and I went up to our church, which has recording equipment, and that's how we record it. That's how we recorded it. And I was like, oh, I hope no one comes in when I'm this evil voice in the church.
Yeah, they would think the devil is playing around.
Yeah. But most of the people now know I do that voice. I was kind of one to never tell anyone that I did all these things. I was one that didn't really talk about it that much. In fact, it took me a long time before I really started going to cons and stuff. And my son, kind of the same way. I had to talk him into going to his first con. And yeah, but now he likes it. I don't know, he might be more shy, or I don't know, private than I am, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's really...
But like he has a lot of like rules. Like when I was going through his IMDb page, like he has a lot of like it's even like hopefully one day we'll have him with us, so I will ask him directly. But like some of the characters he plays are sort of like stereotypical characters, specific shows like that. Like I would never hear something like he might be shy or like private or something like that.
Exactly. Like, yeah. That's like when you're an actor, you can do all that in your acting. Yeah. You know, you come out in those ways. But now John is a person that if you get to know him, he's not shy. You know, you get to know him, then you know it's different. But at first, if he doesn't know people and stuff, and I can be the same way. And but he's really a funny guy. He's got a really funny sense of
he
humor.
actually was one of the head writers of the show I was telling you about, Hitalia, which is like it shows in his writing because like as I told you, like a lot of the jokes are based on like stereotypical jokes between countries, which is it was not translated from the Japanese one. So I think like he rewrote everything to make it more suitable for it.
Yes, he is funny, and he's also emotion. You know, he's got the emotions too, and he's funny, and he's artsy, and he's musically talented too. And he's really a nice guy. He's very nice, and of course he's my son.
It's funny because you are his mother. Of course he is not.
I brag about him. And then my daughter, she was really smart. She didn't get into any of this.
Yeah.
She's in medical, but she is like a rock climber. She hikes, she canoes, she ice climbs, she's like the daredevil.
The athlete of the group.
Yes. But she's the smart one then.
Yeah, like you said she went in medical, so of course she had to be like smart for this kind of career.
Had a good paying job, so yeah. But,
I really want to thank you. Like I finished all the questions.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so like
just have a conversation here.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We are really happy for having you. I put here, maybe you cannot see, but like this is Shenron to like.
Yeah, I'll put my glasses on, then I can see.
Yeah, for the wishes of Frieza, like he wanted to wish a wish, wish for immortality. So like I brought him for Frieza to grant his wishes.
Yes.
Again, thank you for joining us. Like it was great honor for us to have you. And like hopefully we will have it again, like we will do it again hopefully, and hopefully we will have also John, so we will also like see how funny he is on live stream.
Yes, maybe I can. I told him I was doing this, and he was like, what he goes, well, that's interesting, so he thought it was interesting. So yeah, maybe he would.
Yeah, thank you very much. And for our viewers who stay with us that long, thank you for joining us. And hopefully see you.
I hope so. It was nice to meet you, Ahmad.
Thank you.
Ahmed. Tell me how to say it right again. Ahmed. Right? Did I say it right?
Yes.
Ahmed.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.